right is the latest Netflix movie directed by David Ayer, who made End of Watch, Suicide Squad, and is starring Will Smith, Joe Edgerton, and Noemi Ripsey, just to name a few. This movie takes place in an alternative reality where humans, elves, and orcs, and fairies, and all these magical creatures were living together. And there is a lot of racial tension. People don't like the orcs, and they were very looked down to as a brute species. Elves live in the elites, and the humans don't like them. So there is a lot of conflict between them. And Will Smith played a really old, almost retired cop living on the edge of poverty, but he has to team up with an orc, who is the first orc police officer in the force, because nobody would want to team up with him for some reason. And they has to investigate a explosion going around caused by a group of renegade elves called the Inferno. One of them had a magic wand and is running for her life. And so they had to figure out what exactly is going on with the wand, and on top of that they have to run away from the gangsters, the elves, and the orcs, and the corrupt police force that were chasing after them. Now, as ridiculous as the premise sounds, I'm actually very interested. I really like fantasy, especially in movies and video games. I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I also love playing games such as Witcher trilogy and the Dragon Age trilogy, which happen to be some of my favorite video games of all time. And hearing this taking place in an alternative reality of today, and also it's a Netflix show, really piques my curiosity because this is kind of a novelty, and it has it done really well. I can see a new chapter being opened. Well, my overall impression is it is a very entertaining film. It's just, it doesn't execute perfectly. That's the best thing I can say about this movie. So let me talk about what I like about this movie first. I really like the art direction and makeup. It's kind of like in Suicide Squad where we're living in kind of a dystopian reality. And I really like these vibes. And there was a lot of like high fantasy cultures living inside it. Just imagine a world, today's world, where you have Tolkien's vision and J.K. Rowling's like magical stuff happening in ghettos. It's actually pretty fun and exciting to see them. And the makeups were A+. I heard a rumor like this movie was gonna be nominated for Academy Award. Well, Academy Award nomination won't happen until like January or March, something like that. But I heard they were qualified to get at least an Oscar nom for the best makeup. And if they do, I wouldn't be surprised because the makeup there was pretty damn good. There is not a lot of CGI, but most of all was just the pure makeup. The orc, the elves, they all seemed to come alive with this fascinating makeup. Some of the acting was pretty good too, like especially from actors like Joe Edgerton. He was in movies like It Comes at Night, 13 Hours. He was very good in all of them. He's a really, really underrated actor. His performance isn't like Oscar worthy or Golden Globe worthy, but it's enough for you to really like him, to really sympathize with him. And for me, he is the character that pushes the story along. Unfortunately, this movie suffered a lot of similar problems with Suicide Squad. Now, after Suicide Squad, I was also really hoping David Ayer to make something that proves that Suicide Squad, the problems with Suicide Squad mostly come from studio intervention. And I want him to have a chance to prove that he can make better film than this. And with something like a Netflix, which gives creators a lot of freedom to do what they want, I think this is a perfect platform for him to show. But unfortunately, this is still not one of his best. It's not his worst, but it's not a great movie. It's enjoyable, but honestly, it's not good. The problem was the script. There was a lot of ideas involved in it that just doesn't show, or there were a lot of plotline, very interesting plotline, that were dropped halfway through the movie. One of the example was him and his family. There could be a lot of potential where Will Smith's family were running into a lot of financial trouble, and how he has to deal with his personal problem, with his understanding of races. But it doesn't play out often, and the arc with him and his family only played for like a few minutes into the film, and it was completely dropped. Another plot line was the fact that Orc was being looked down to, and how they tried to survive. The police officer played by Joe Edgerton wanted to become a cop all his life, and he said he was abandoned by his own clan. But the film didn't really go into that too. What I'm trying to say is, they have a lot of idea, but it kind of went scatterbrain. It wasn't as chaotic as Downsizing, where in Downsizing you don't know what the film is about till the last 30 minutes. This movie is much more streamlined. But that's not really saying much. That's like saying, I watched an action movie that I really, really liked, versus I watched an art film which I don't know going anywhere. So they're on the same level. But if I have to choose something, I would rather watch Bright, because I kind of get an idea of what they're going for. The other problem was actually from Will Smith. It's hard for me to say, but I like Will Smith from everything he has done. Even in bad movies, he's like the shining light. But here, he's just Will Smith. And his acting doesn't fit with what's going on around here. Some of his humor just felt really, really flat. And he almost has no chemistry with Joe Edgerton's Orc Police. So it was a huge letdown to see that happening. Guys, overall, Bright is a very ambitious movie. It has some interesting world building. It has great art performance from Joe Edgerton. And it has some really decent fighting scenes. But unfortunately, like Downsizing, the script is very broken. It has a lot of plot points that was never clearly explained. Some of the performance by Will Smith is kind of disappointing, and there were times the whole movie turned into a music video. Still, it was an entertaining movie. It's not good, but it's very entertaining. I'm gonna give this movie a 6 out of 10. Definitely not the worst film of the year, as some critics said. I mean, I can imagine a lot of you guys gonna enjoy it. Well, I honestly sort of did. And it's very great to see Netflix try out a big budget movie like that. I hope they try out more movies like this, just improve the quality a little bit. And honestly, I want to see a sequel. Or at least I want to see a movie that was built in the world was Bright. Because the world building is absolutely fantastic. And I want to see more movies using this concept, just with better execution. Guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Please check out for more videos coming out very soon. And as always, if you think I'm good, you're pretty good too.